Are they born or are they made? Can you spot them readily? What are the characteristics of a great leader? Hi, I'm Andrea Oliver, and welcome to this edition of Lakeland Now In View. Today, we hope to have what should be a very interesting conversation about what makes for a great leader. And in doing so, we're probably going to be talking about the good, the bad, maybe even the ugly. Today, I welcome Mayor Bill Mutz, Lakeland Mayor Bill Mutz, to our show, and a man I consider an amazing leader of leaders. Bill is from Indianapolis, Indiana, went to Indiana University, where he graduated with a degree in marketing and finance, and over the years have led so many, not only individuals, but companies. You came to Lakeland, Mayor Mutz, in 1996, I believe we're the better for it. Welcome to Lakeland Now In View.
Well, I love being here, so it was a great move for me.
Yes, well, you know, I met you when you were running the show, so to speak, over at the Lakeland Auto Mall, and I want to ask you, because it seems to me that you've always been in one sort of or another in a leadership role. Are leaders born? Are they made? Is this something that you consider, well, I'm in the position, I might as well offer up leadership, or is it something that you think is intrinsic to you?
Well, I think you move into the disciplines of leadership. Most of us fear leading because we fear. And so you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to embrace something that you think was a risk you shouldn't have taken. And so fear keeps us from making decisions. Part of leading is making certain that you assess what needs to be done. You have the courage to kind of take the next step that should, in your mind at least, be the thing that transpires, and then bring people with you in the process. But I think we think about leaderships perhaps at the tops of organizations, when in fact people lead at all different levels in life. You lead among your friends just by the way you talk and the influence that you have with them and the comments that you laugh at and the comments you don't laugh at.
Well, tell me this, because if that is so, and I do believe it is it, did you get to a place in your own life where you go, you know, I'm leading people, I might as well get my act together? Or were you surprised by the fact that you were being placed in a leadership role? Where did you find yourself in the spectrum?
I think you are surprised that you're in leadership roles.
Really?
So I don't ever remember a time where I thought, oh, well, I'm this leader. I found myself being an early hand raiser. So one of the things that my parents encouraged me to do is participate in class. One of the things we encourage our own kids to do is be a participant in class, be an early volunteer, clean up the room, walk into a place, see something on the floor, pick it up, be a game changer wherever you go. It doesn't mean that you're in the front of the room. It just means that you stack the chairs, you do what needs to be done, but you change a room because of the fact you show up in it.
We're told children live what they learn. So obviously you had some great modeling in your own parents, great leadership. How did that influence how you made some of the decisions in your own family, because you're leading there as well?
Well, I think I grew up believing I'd never be the leaders my parents were. Wow. I looked at my dad and thought, gosh, he's this great businessman. I'll never be anything like him. My mom was involved early and cared about people and memorized names. She knew people's names. She'd meet them one time and never miss on a name. I never got there. You know, it's such a gift. Although I did find her reading Trivial Pursuit cards and memorizing them, because she had a perfect memory. And so we made her answer all 6 of those cards whenever we played with her, or all 6 of the questions. But leadership happens because of a muscle that gets worked. It's a muscle within you that says, I'll take that step. I'll do what's necessary. And in the process, when you do that, you recognize, well, I helped in that regard. And then that muscle gets larger. It gets worked out as you have opportunities to influence people.
Well, the capacity certainly is broadened by the task that is at hand. Certainly, you're expressing leadership in your home as a head of the home, and that will carry over in some other areas. But when you're leading a city, like you have to lead a city, how much of that weighs, how much of that leadership comes into play with leading a city, or how is it different?
Well, I think it is the same thing. So I remember the night that I won the election, I went, holy cow, I have to do this, and you go, how could that possibly be? How could you run? Well, because I think you have these things about that you would like to be able to be available and to serve. But when you recognize that that's going to become a pivot point that you have to provide every day, and that you're going to be in that role, and you start to recognize what you don't know and the things that you have to depend on other people for in order to educate you that will help you along the way, it's sobering.
Yes.
And a good leader ought to be sobered, because it's not about our ability. It's about our ability to surround ourselves with people who can help us do a good job of assessing assets, knowing what costs are, looking at what the needs are overall, and then choosing a true north to pursue as a result of understanding the variables. And in most cases, decisions are being made where you don't have all of the variables you'd like to have in place, like life.
It sounds like this year.
That's
Mayor
right.
Bill
That's
Mutz,
right.
Lakeland Mayor Bill Mutz is our guest today on Lakeland Now In View. And I heard it said that to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. Is that something you espouse to? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I definitely think so. So the best leaders are always servant leaders. And servant leaders followed first. They looked at what needed to be done. They watched other people who led among them, and they looked into their own giftedness. I think one of the things that dilutes real leadership, one of the things that causes us to be less potent, we become impotent, is when we compare ourselves to other people and other people's leadership. Our job is to decide how we lead given the giftedness we have within us. And we're made differently for a reason.
Right.
We're made differently so that we can have a bouquet of leadership and provision of following and filling needs along the way. And so our job is to step in on a daily basis to the opportunities that are on the sidewalk in front of our home, to sweep that sidewalk well, and to move out and have it contribute to the community, because we did.
You're sweeping an entire community. They're sweeping the sidewalk of this great community. You've had to lead in a year that has been really hard. And I don't know, it seems to me sometimes that leadership above you might not have necessarily been always there, but you've had to make some strong decisions that you believe best for your community. How has that been for you?
It's been wonderful. You start out by not worrying about what is necessarily going to be popular. You start out by recognizing what are the most grave needs that need to be met. So let's take COVID, which is very easy. Our responsibility is to protect lives. So how do we become as drastic as necessary without being too drastic? What are the things and policies that we can follow that can make the most significant difference? So we have a plethora of voices. There's an opinion on every side of this issue. So it's never about trying to please everyone. It's about trying to pursue the right priorities. So the priority is people. On the racism issue, the priority is honoring people. Our job is to serve people the most protectively, appropriately that we can, and to create the most balanced playing fields we can when life's full of imbalance and when needs are disparate.
When you're leading someone, Mayor Mutz, and you know that there are people, there are dissenters, there are people who disagree with some of the decisions you're making. I think about the Confederate monument in downtown Lakeland and the decision you made there. You started that fundraising campaign. How do you bring leadership that is also going to bring people together?
You listen well and you work on understanding. The best job that we do on leadership is a result of listening well. And so you don't gather opinions early. You don't come to conclusions fast. We think about leadership as being this decisive person, which is kind of more the type A leader and maybe perhaps the narcissist. The best quality decisions we'll make are after we spend time thinking through and assessing situations and hearing broad spectrums of opinion. And I learned early along the way as mayor to listen to people who were very focused on their point and pretty volatile in some of the things they were saying, and maybe spitting on you a little bit when it was okay to be spat on. And in that era,
they call that passion.
Yeah, and that's passion. And when they share their opinion on those things, you learn to ask the question, would you like to have another view on that, on this matter? And in most cases, people will say, what do you think? What do you think they will say?
Well, what do you have to say?
Yeah, no, they won't. They'll say no.
Is that what they say?
They'll know, but they'll primarily tell you no. And that is because emotion, you meet with emotion, and logic, you meet with logic, and you don't ever try and meet emotion and logic at the same time. So if someone's talking to you emotionally, then you want to respond to their feelings and to the things that they're saying and understand the depth of where they're coming from and understand there's a whole history of why they feel that way.
Are you calling yourself a touchy-feely leader?
I am a touchy-feely leader. I love to rub a back, and I've done this my whole life long. So this whole period of time is very difficult for me. I had to discipline myself early on, put my hands in my pockets so that I wouldn't touch people. But I think it's more important to be touchy-feely in terms of hearts. And so from my perspective, the thing that I will never cease to do is to try and understand how we best protect people's hearts to the extent it's possible.
It's a little preemptive, but certainly one day you probably will give up running for office. One day you will hopefully sit on a back porch somewhere with your beautiful wife, Pam, and have the grandkids running around. How would you want to be remembered as a leader?
That I served. In other words, our job is not to be this visible, charismatic person, but it's to be somebody who made a difference because of what the needs were and filled those voids as they went along. I want to do that in my grandkids' lives. I want to have an opportunity. You have a window of time probably between 5 to 8 years old on the young side to 13 years old to 15 on the high side to be able to have a dramatic impact in your grandkids' lives. I think when we think about what's happening, by the way, and I'm diverting from your question in this, but we're in for a couple of years of things not being normal. We're in for a couple of years of getting ourselves back on our feet. We are Americans. We want this to be done in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, at the most 3 months. That's not this. And so as we work to serve other people, this is going to take us some time. And our normal will be a little different on the other side of it. But certainly for the next 12 to 24 months, we've got a grind in front of us. We need to do that and be willing to move into that and not be shy.
And I know for sure that you'll be offering great leadership in the weeks, months, possibly even years ahead. And we just appreciate you and appreciate what you bring to this community. Thank you so much for being here, Mayor Bill Mutz. And I know that you will continue to lead this community, this city so very well. You do an excellent job, and we are the better for having you here. And next week, we will invite a man who listens a lot to Bill Mutz, maybe repeat a lot of what he says. Kevin Cook, City of Lakeland spokesperson, will be our guest on the program. Till then, stay safe, and let's meet and do it again. I'm Andrea Oliver for Lakeland Now in View.